Once Human is going to be at Gamescom this year. I'm going to go over all the details, what we could see at the new booth, as well as some of the hidden information with that. We also just had NetEase's earnings call, so we got a bit of insight into the future as well as a potential roadmap. On top of everything else, we did get some smaller updates that I'll go over, as well as a whole bunch more. What's up, World Utopia here, back in with another video. Today we're checking out all things Once Human. So first off here, we'll go into Gamescom, what we're going to be seeing at that event. As you know, a lot of game previews happen there. They have a full booth, showcase, cosplays, and even events. So we'll go over what Once Human did release officially and publicly, then we'll cover some things that are on the back end that aren't as easy to find. So jumping over here to Once Human's official tweet, they do actually give a little bit of insight here with the booth guide saying that Once Human X 2025 Gamescom kicks off here soon in Cologne, Germany. They mentioned that you can check out the booth guide and even play with Once Human streamers, meet Mitsuko, and even join some on-site events to score some free merch. So if you look at the booth guide here, we'll section over to this where it's Hall 9, stand A040. So if you are headed there, they are going to be in this little subsection. They do have the booth preview over to the right here. Again, they do mention this may vary a little bit. These are reference images only as they don't currently have it set up there just yet. But essentially, this is some of the graphic and architectural work that might be present at the booth. Now, if you do actually go to Gamescom and you do visit the booth, there are going to be a few things there. So first off, they do have the event timeline here. Again, these events will be present from August 21st through the 24th, and they do mention a full on-day stage event for the 24th. So those actually do go as follows. Or first off, starting at 11, they do have the Mitsuko cosplay showcase and a giveaway for round 1. That goes into round 2 with an encore, and then the final Mitsuko cosplay session with a mega giveaway for round 3. At 4:25 p.m., they're going to have some streamer challenge events with exclusive rewards. That also does coincide with a meet and greet with cosplayers and streamers. They do actually showcase 2 here, where they do actually feature a Once Human streamer here, KDR Kitten. And they also mentioned that you might be able to dance with Mitsuko, who I believe is being cosplayed by Usagachi. They also, as I mentioned, do have some Once Human merch to give away. Now, if you haven't seen already, I actually do have a showcase of this merch on my channel. I'll show a little bit of it here. I have basically everything from this list aside from the plushie and the wristband, but I do have the 2 squishy toys as well as the mouse pad. Again, there's a full showcase on my channel that I will link to, but I'll showcase a little bit of that during this video. In case you want to check out the full thing though, with all the t-shirts, etc., you can do so in the link down below. As I do mention though, there are a few discrepancies with this booth layout. Now, they do say here they're in Hall 9, stand A040. However, if we actually do go to Hall 9 on Gamescom's website, and we look over at this Exhibitors tab, we actually don't see NetEase on this list. And even weirder and worse here, we don't see Once Human listed under the games under this tab for the Hall 9. However, if we do go back to the exhibitor list, we see under A040 is a company called Espiegel SE. And doing some more deep diving, that is actually Huawei's App Gallery set stage for Epic Games Adventure at Gamescom 2025. And if we look under here, we actually do see Once Human listed under this section. So yes, technically Once Human is under the Huawei App Gallery stage, not exactly NetEase stage. So it seems like it is being presented as a mobile game, or at least being pushed that way currently. But it will at least be under that subsection there in case any of you are confused and are there, or plan to actually head to Gamescom. Again, I'm going to include everything from Gamescom, their hall sections, you can look at their layout, their site plan, even the Once Human page. All of that is going to be located in the description down below. So in case you want to utilize any of the tools down there to locate different booths and anything that's at Gamescom, you can do so in the description. But that should essentially cover nearly everything from Gamescom, at least pertaining to NetEase and Once Human. Now that we have all the hall details, where things are going to be, so far confirmed this is a booth presence only. Again, inside that Huawei App Gallery section or Espiegel SE, where you can play with those Once Human streamers, do those on-site events, merch, etc. Right now, there is no hint of a trailer or world premiere, and they are not currently featured on the Gamescom broadcast lineup, which is for preview schedules or even other headliners. They do have that on-stage thing happening August 24th, but again, they are not in the main show, which is the Future Game Show, or even the opening night. That typically is where a lot of those titles are being teased or new games. So far, their PR kind of frames it as just hands-on and community activations, but no announcements just yet. We could see a micro drop on the floor, some creator collaborations, booth-only codes, merch, again, that's going to be there, or even meet and greets that are potentially there that haven't been called out just yet. But as I mentioned, so far, they are not listed in the main show, so more than likely, we're not going to see them at the Future Game Show event, which more than likely means we're not going to see anything teased or shown off. Speaking of NetEase, I actually did mention they were going to have their Q2 earnings result on August 14th. And I did mention there was a potential of future roadmap showcase there, or even their future plans. We actually did get some of that here. I'm going to break down to you. Again, the sources for this are located down below, but I did have to translate a few of these, so I have coordinated it here. If we look, they actually did have some really good revenues for their Q2. Or actually, most of their net revenue in their core games was through NetEase themselves. And if we look here, it's kind of cool to see the player base split, with overseas being a 1-to-1, with the revenue overseas actually being 1 to 1.5, meaning that the overseas revenue is actually higher. So they did make more revenue from everywhere else in the global regions. They did mention there was some key specific wins with Once Human. The July 2.0 update was a key driver, with the new scenario, Endless Dreams, and the new class system that did result on them being number 4 for the Steam Global Top Sellers list that week. They also went over here some key strategic outputs and highlights, where they do mention that NetEase will have Starry Studio double down on the seasonal scenario model, so they are going to keep pushing for those, where they are going to plan to launch diverse scenarios that do happen in a roundabout fashion. They did talk about player custom servers, but those are already live. The management do, however, see Once Human as an evergreen platform, meaning that they do have NetEase's full backing here with this game, where that does essentially mean that they see Once Human as a long-term game, meaning that's going to be supported for the foreseeable future. They don't exactly detail how long, but usually long-term means many, many years, which is a really good sign overall for the game, where they are even recently working on a console release, so they clearly do have plans for quite a while. They did also have one more thing here. This one pertains to NetEase as a whole. Their industrialized vision is that they have built an efficient, scalable AAA pipeline. If you haven't seen, NetEase has a lot of games that have released recently and up and coming, especially for the PC platform. They do mention that their focus is always on fun-first design with sustained content updates. So again, they are really leaning into the live service models and keeping constant updates for their games. Last up here, we did have some server status and fixes. This happened on August 14th and the 15th. We had some server issues that were addressed. The devs also did an emergency notice, which asked players to avoid scenario switches or reboots. It was resolved later that day, and servers have been fully restored and playable. So now you are safe to resume all the server transfers, or if you're just jumping into the game. Again, they just had to do some emergency maintenance and fixes there, but that all did apply to August 14th update. We of course finally had those new shop cosmetics and the new battle pass. I did go over those teasers already though, but I figured there was no need to recover them since I basically kind of showed them off near their entirety. Overall though, it should about cover for today's video. If you enjoyed it, like, subscribe, and until the next one. Deuces!